Well, it's been a couple months. Should we fill in the audience about what's been going on?
No.
All right. Well, it's been a couple months since we posted our first episode, and a lot's been happening. It's been kind of crazy. We have recorded a second episode. We actually have, but that was, it was about 2 months ago. I think we recorded that second episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I think we recorded it. What, like a week after our first one was released?
Yeah, probably a week after it posted. So we posted Gabe posted our first episode August 31st. And then I think immediately, something like that. Was it September 31st?
I think it was.
September or August? I thought Gabe told me it was August.
Oh, maybe it was August.
Yeah, I think this is November 1st is when we're recording this.
Holy cow.
So, good news and bad news. Bad news, it's taking this long for episode 2 to be done. That's because we were dumb idiots and dumb. If you know, you know. But we were dumb idiots, and we recorded it very stupidly. I mean, we had like 4 different recordings going on between video and audio, and none of it would sync up. I had to edit the crap out of the audio, splice things in. It just took way too long. And then the past couple of months, we've taken quite a few vacations too, because towards the end of the year, that's when we take all our vacations for work. So it was a mess. Well, finally, episode 2 is done and edited. Video will not be available in this one. It's too much of a hassle this time. So this will actually be our first video that will have video
with it.
It'll just be real short. We were just out of town. I was just in Florida with my family on vacation, and Jake actually took the week that I was gone and used that time to go see my other family, my cousin and her husband in Minneapolis. Spent the week up there, and we got some pretty cool things. So I thought that just to kind of fill the gap while Gabe gets episode 2 set up, because I'm sure he's going to nitpick and go through all of the crap that I did wrong and fix it. So we just thought we'd give you a little snippet, a little 15-minute or 20-minute. We'll see how long it takes, but it won't be a full episode show by any means. Just kind of tell you what we've been doing lately, and then actually each of us brought a little something back from our respective vacation locations that we will give a little tasting to. So Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about your vacation first, and then, or should you show us what you got first?
Sure. Read it.
I don't blurry. It's blurry.
This was from Bigwood Brewery in Minneapolis area. This one, I actually didn't get to go there, but before I left, I did swing into a liquor store and found this one.
Okay, so they do sell they can their beers and sell them.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same place that I went to, the same thing, but I got mine straight from the brewery because I'm better than you.
Yeah, well, shut up. So this one's called, it's a Cabin Days is the name of it. It's a hazy IPA, which they had a coffee stout there too.
Oh, yeah.
But I love these hazy IPAs.
A good hazy IPA is pretty good.
So that caught my eye.
What's some details about do you have any details about the beer?
Yes. Let's see. The description for Cabby Days says, partly cloudy with 100% chance of delicious. It's juicy and hazy, double dry, hopped like crazy, cool, smooth, and refreshing. The perfect companion for those laid-back, easygoing days at the cabin. Days as in D-A-Z-E.
Wow.
Wow. So clever. It's a 5.1%, and the IBU is 43.
So I did we go over IBUs in the previous episode that was released?
I don't think we've went over that stuff yet. Because I remember talking about maybe in an episode we would.
I know for sure we didn't do IBUs in episode 2 that hasn't been released yet. I know for sure we didn't talk about it then. I don't know if we talked about it. I can't remember if we talked about it in the first episode or not. Maybe when we get to an episode where we actually do a couple IPAs, we'll go over the IBU system because that'd be pretty interesting for people to know.
And something about this beer that I forgot to mention is the brewery is actually the town that we stayed in with your cousin.
Bigwood, that's what it's called?
So the brewery is Bigwood, but the town is White Bear Lake.
White Bear Lake, okay.
Minnesota, yeah.
Okay, and
which is, I think it was like 20 minutes from Minneapolis.
Okay, so you're kind of in a far suburb there. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
All right, well, why don't we crack it open and let's give her a taste.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little flat. Kind of sucked.
All right. All right, Brewmaster, how do you pour an IPA? Like so?
From can to glass.
Doesn't matter?
I don't think so.
Boom.
And we're going to split this one because it is a shorter episode. Or maybe not.
I couldn't tell how much of that was foam.
I couldn't tell either. Okay, so initial aroma. Oh, it's very hoppy.
Citrusy.
Mm-hmm. A lot of citra hops, I can tell. I don't know anything about this beer other than what he just read off the can, so I'm kind of going off.
This is a non-scripted show.
Yeah, this is so non-scripted. This is improv. It's going to be absolutely terrible. Gabe will never post this.
Took about 45 minutes to get the camera figured out.
We're new, if you can't tell. We're new to this.
I do photos. I don't do video, so I had no idea how to work the video part of my camera. Oh, that's a wrap. That's what that is.
Wow, that's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's very tasty. So I get a lot of
citrus?
Citra hops is what I would, or is maybe mosaics too. That's something we'll cover in an IPA episode in the future too, is a lot of the hops that go into IPAs. But I could be totally wrong, and I probably am, but I get a lot of Citra hops and a lot of mosaic hops. The Citras really give you that orange, grapefruity, and there's a lot of that. Can I see that can? Yeah. So anyway, keep telling us about your trip. So you didn't get to go to the brewery. What else did you end up doing?
So it was more of a workcation than a vacation for me anyway. She hung out with your cousin the whole time, but we did some. It was the same job all week. It was one of those kind of hurry up to wait type jobs. So
and you were doing flooring.
Flooring, yeah. So it was a very, very wealthy person's house, and they have a couple young boys. I think they said they were like 2 or something, and they're getting them into hockey.
Oh wow!
So the basement of their house was like probably 25, maybe 30% of it was like a home gym. So we put down a rubber, like an inch thick rubber flooring.
Oh, like a workout mat type of flooring? That's kind of cool.
So we put that down in like one part of it, and they had, all their workout equipment. But then the rest of it is a hockey rink.
I give that burp factor a 2.
It sounded
kind
like
of gross.
Diarrhea burp.
Yeah, that was. Bigwood, work on your burp factor in your beers, please. Thank you.
I haven't even burped yet.
You just did.
Did I really? All right. But
so it was half gym mat, half hockey rink.
Yeah. So
did you lay the hockey rink floor then?
Pretty much. They're the only part that's left. I think somebody else does. So it legit. It had the plexiglass walls. Yeah, it was like an actual, but it was small, but it was like an actual rink.
That's kind of awesome. I really wish I could have one of those when I was a kid.
I think it was probably like a 20 by 20.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the flooring was obviously concrete. It's not one, they didn't set it up to actually freeze it over.
Yeah, it was just roller hockey setup.
Yeah, but what was cool is it was the concrete, and then what we laid, obviously prepped the floor, but what we laid down was it was like rated for 5,000 PSI. It was a vinyl mat.
For the roller hockey or for the gym part?
For the floor hockey part.
Oh, really?
So it was a vinyl, probably like 3/4 inch thick, but it was rated like 5,000 PSI. So we lay that down, and then Tyler heat shrinked or heat welded the strips together.
Huh.
But then over that, I don't know what it's like a hard plastic, and it's probably like maybe a half-inch thick. I'd say maybe like between a quarter and a half-inch thick, and it fits together like puzzle pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, I don't know if it's waxed, but once they interlock that and lay it over the vinyl, obviously you can rollerblade, but it's designed to where you can actually use your ice skates on it without freezing it.
Really?
And maybe I misunderstood. Maybe they freeze over it. They put some water and then I don't know how they would freeze.
I don't know if they didn't set up a freezer. I don't know how they would.
So I think it's set for like dry. I don't know how, but you can actually skate with your ice skates on the plastic.
Huh, that's pretty awesome.
And then it was cool. Like outside the rink, they had bench seating, like it literally looked like players ready to come in. And
that's
play.
Really cool. They're probably practicing shift changes and things like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. But other than that, we just kind of went. We went out to eat every night. We kind of went to like the speakeasy secret bar, which was actually really cool. You make a reservation and you park right in the middle of downtown area. And then you walk down. The only entrance is in an alley, a back alley. So you walk down the back alley and all the doors just look like your typical back door from a restaurant to throw garbage out.
Really?
And on the door, or right next to the door, I think it was like a sticker or something, but it said the name of the bar is Volstead's.
Volstead's. Is that German?
I think so.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
But it's like only literally like that big. The sticker. Just so if you have a reservation.
So you can actually find but it's not like super advertised or anything like that. That's pretty cool.
And the door has one of those old school slide windows that you look out of. So you walk up to the door, bang on the door. He slides it open. He says, "How many?" And you say your number. So we have 4 of us. So we just said 4. And he doesn't even say anything. He just slides it shut. And then you just stand there and wait. Wait until they open the door. So we stood there probably only for maybe a minute or two. Then he opens the door, and when you open the door, you're at the top of a set of stairs that just look like back room stairs. Mm-hmm. And it's a guy just in a chair, and he said, "What's your name?" And tells the name. He walks down to the next door at the bottom of the stairs and says the name, and they say, "Okay, we're ready." And then you walk down this old crappy concrete steps, and you go to your left, and there's another crappy looking door. At least on that side of it, opens it up and then it opens up into the speakeasy.
That's so cool. So was it actually like decked out with like the 1940s stuff?
Real dim lit.
Or I guess it wouldn't be 1940s, like 1920s.
20s, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be the 20s.
Yeah, and so real dim lit. They had some tables. The cool part is they had these booths along the side of the wall, and they have privacy curtains. So if you and your party don't want people to look at you, you just close the curtains.
That's cool.
And then each booth has a mirror on the wall. So if you order food, when the food's ready, each of those mirrors are doors. And on the other side is the kitchen.
Oh, so they just open up the door and there.
So when they take your order, they open up. They're like, "Where can I get you?" You order, they close it, and when the food's ready, they open it back up, and they hand you the food through the mirror door.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's
was really
cool.
And we got fortunate that night because they had a piano player. He looked young, like he was probably in his 20s. He was amazing.
Really? And
he played all evening while we were there.
So just like typical like lounge music, or
he played some jazz. He played. I'm pretty sure one of the songs he played Mario.
That's pretty funny.
He did it wasn't the theme song, or it may have been. I think it was from Super Mario World. He played one of those songs.
I didn't really play that much of. I mean.
Yeah, so he played that, and there were some other songs he played that were actual radio songs, and he played on the piano.
That's pretty cool. So it kind of just lounged up like popular songs a little bit.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then the last thing that was cool about that place was they have a secret room. You can rent, but you can also, if it's not rented out, you can look at it. So one side is in their fireplace room, and it's a bookshelf, and it's got a bunch, obviously, fake books or books that are at least glued in there. And then there's a statue, and it looks pretty inconspicuous, but to open it, you walk up to the statue, you pull it, and it unlocks the door, and then the door
Great
slides
idea.
open.
What a great idea.
And then the other side, the other entrance of the door is a old phone booth with a rotary phone.
And so do you have to like put in a code for it to open, or?
Yeah, so I think they only have that side set up to where if the room is rented, you can enter. Because I guess they probably don't want people messing with it,
messing with the phone and breaking the phone, you know.
But yeah, they normally they had the rotary part taken off.
Oh.
But if I remember right, I think they said when it's rented, they put it on.
And then there's like a certain spin. That
and you pick up the phone, and I think it rings somebody, one of the employees or something, and they tell you a code. They say hello, and you, I think you have like a passcode you get if you rent the room or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
And then they tell you the code, or they have a hint or something, and you dial that code on the rotary phone, and that unlocks the door.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Why don't we have things like that here in St. Louis?
I don't know. That's like St. Louis is like they want to have that stuff,
We just never.
but they don't have it.
We're the city of we want nice things, but we can't have nice things because we throw temper tantrums all the time.
We're a wannabe city. That was intense.
What are we, camping?
No. Oh no. I was like, what?
So what was the drink situation there? Like, what did they have going on?
So their their drink menu's cool because I think they have like 2 staple drinks and it's an old fashioned and a Manhattan.
That's cool.
The old fashioned was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was anything like, oh, this is amazing. It was good though. Their Manhattan, not gonna lie, I wasn't a huge fan of.
Really?
Yeah. It was good, but I was kind of disappointed for the price of it. But then the rest of their menu, your cousin told me, I can't remember, but I think she said it changes like I want to say it's either every like 3 weeks or once a month.
Mm-hmm.
They rotate the drinks. So when we went up, was that last month? I guess we went up.
Yeah. When I was in Florida a month ago, before I came back from this Florida trip a week ago, you went up there too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that time we went there, and they had some pretty decent drinks, but this time they had a couple. Like they had one called the Pollinator, and it was a gin drink.
Oh
my gosh,
good.
It was probably the best gin drink I've ever had. It was fantastic.
Remind me when I get to my part of the story to tell you about the gin I had at the distillery in Memphis, because that was a good gin. But continue.
Yeah, but no, that's about it really. I think they swap the drinks like once a month. It was good. We each got an appetizer. I was in a snacky mood, so I just got some chips and dip. But yeah, even that was amazing.
Pretty good.
It was like kettle cooked chips and almost like a hummus. It wasn't hummus, but it was like a hummus style dip. I don't know. That's the best way I can think to describe it, but it was good.
Good.
So we just hung out there for a couple hours, and then.
Anything else exciting?
No, the rest of it was just kind of work and chill. That's about it. We went to the Mall of America for dinner.
Where'd you go to dinner in Mall of America?
There was a Mexican restaurant, and probably the best Mexican food I've ever had. Like it was legit.
Like legit Mexican food. It wasn't our mom and pop shop Mexican food places.
It was a good mix of being real authentic and Tex-Mex at the same time. It wasn't like what you normally are going to go to at a restaurant in town.
Huh. Okay.
But I mean, like I think I got a quesadilla, the big quesadilla or something, and I got steak, and that was like that. I mean, that steak was cooked perfect.
Awesome.
It was good food.
That's
awesome. Really good food.
Well, cool. Well, it sounds like you guys had a good time. Shout out to Eden and Tyler, my cousins, Eden and Tyler Barth. What's Eden's business? Is it Eden's Essentials?
Eden's. I think it's Eden's Essentials.
Eden's Essentials on Instagram. Check her out. Yeah. If we got that tag name wrong, Eden, we'll post it in the description for you and give you a decent plug.
To go with that shout out, I will say, so when we were doing the gym floor, gluing it down, it's like literally what it's glued with is like a liquid rubber. Okay. Super, super thick. And when it dries, it's like, if it gets in your arm hair or whatever, you basically cut your arm hair off.
Really?
And because he said he's tried everything to try to dissolve it, and he's like, nothing works. So Eden was like, oh, well, I bet I think it was like a mix that she made, but I know it had lemon in it.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I bet that might get it off. And me and Tyler were like, I don't know. I don't think so. She's like, well, let's just try it and see what happens. And she put just like 3 or 4 drops on it.
Mm-hmm.
I started rubbing it. Came right out.
Are you serious?
Yeah, came out. I didn't have to yank hair out. It came right out of the hair. I was like, whoa.
Well, if you need any of Eden's goofy off, message her on Instagram or don't. I don't really care.
I care. No, it's definitely go check it out though, because she knows her stuff too.
Yeah, and we'll put, if we got the tag name wrong by any means, we'll put it on the description for the video and give you a proper shout out there. Let's take just a quick break because I have to pee, and then we'll come back and I'll wrap up my stories.
Okay. Okay, we're back. So now, well, first of all, you want to crack your beer open?
Oh yeah.
Let's tell us a little bit about where you went, what it is.
So where I went to was Apalachicola, Florida. Or I was actually a town about 20 miles east or 20 miles west of there. But I found this little brewery. It's not actually that little down there. I mean, they sell to multiple cities in the area, and they have a brewery or a brew pub in Tallahassee, Florida. And then now they're opening up one in Mobile, Alabama. So I mean, slowly expanding. So they strictly make all their beer in the Apalachicola location.
Oh,
so
okay.
Everything's there. It's just they opened up tap rooms kind of around. One in Tallahassee. Now they're opening one up in Mobile. But it's Oyster City Brewing Company. Sweet little spot. Really cool spot. This is their Oyster Stout. They only have it on draft in Apalachicola. You cannot get it anywhere else.
So they can it.
They growler it here. They don't ship their Oyster Stout anywhere. There's no commercial.
Oh, you mean just that?
Just this beer. Just this specific beer you can only get at the Apalachicola location. Because they make it with their Apalachicola oysters, which they're very, very famous for.
Oh.
So this is their Oyster Stout. I don't know that much about it because I did not get the chance to talk to the brewmaster at all, and they have no notes of it on their website at all. But it's a 6% stout, and I kind of did a little research about just an Oyster Stout, and pretty much it's just your run-of-the-mill stout. I mean, if you make an Irish type stout or whatever, just add a bunch of cleaned off oysters, whole oysters to it in the boil, and that's pretty much it.
So does that give it any type of salty or soury taste to it, or
not this one? I have had oyster stouts that have had that little bit of a sea salt saltiness to it, but I can't really tell that much of it. You tell me what you think.
Okay.
Oysters aside, the beer itself is awesome. So here, let's go ahead and pop it open. Ready?
Ooh. Oh, that was way better.
That was
awesome.
That was a little wet.
Moist.
All right. So it's nice and nice and thick.
That's thick. Dang, look at that thing.
Yeah, I found this place.
That boy thick.
That boy thick. I went to this place after Allie and I just decided to take a drive, and didn't really know it was there. I knew Apalachicola was a decent town. I've never been there before, and we just needed to get out. And we hopped in the Jeep and started heading east, and came into Apalachicola. Apalachicola, first off, is just a beautiful little town.
Is it like a seaside town?
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, you're right on the bay. You're not on the Gulf per se on the town, but Apalachicola Bay is right there. It's a decent sized bay, and there's a bunch of oyster farms. You drive down. So the road that takes you from where the house that we were staying to the city was a coast road. So I mean, you would be all these thick pine trees and palms, and then all of a sudden it would open up and you'd see the bay, and then you'd see all the oyster farms, and all the oyster farms are just these wooden poles sticking out of the ground, and that shows where you drop your nets to
That's
pick up
cool.
oysters. It was a cool drive.
That sounds like a Nicholas Sparks town.
Oh yeah. So you pull into this little town. I mean, and you pass some, your typical small town stuff, your Dollar General. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty with the camera there, so I'm going to start back with my story back where getting into Apalachicola. So you pass all your, your typical small town things, like I said, your Ace Hardware and Dollar General and Burger King, I think is right there. And then you get into Old Apalachicola. And it's old. I mean, you can tell that it's an old town. It's an old seaside town. And there was one of the first things you pass was actually one of the things that I really wanted to look at that I didn't get to. There was an old graveyard there, and I like going into those graveyards and seeing what the oldest stone is in there. And just by passing it, you pass it for a split second because you're going pretty fast on that highway. And you can tell it's old. I mean, like, it's ancient. So I wanted to look at that, but I couldn't. And then you got your nice, beautiful cathedral white churches. There was a stone church there. Oh, really, really pretty. Awesome. Yeah, like a Spanish stone church. It was really pretty. Then they had they're not plantation style, but I guess you could compare them to that. They're like your 3-story shotgun house, but then they have those great big white columns in the front. There's a bunch of them down there.
It's like a storybook place.
Yeah, like I think you said Nicholas Sparks earlier. It's very much like that. If you had put that town and put it like in Maine or somewhere in the Northeast, it would totally fit.
Oh, okay.
And so you go into old town Apalachicola, and you find there's this brewery there, and it's on the corner, and all they have in there is, because they have the other tap rooms in the other cities. All they have there is their fermenters, their mash tuns, and their boilers, and that's it. They have a little bar and a little gift shop in there. You go in, you order your beer, and you walk right back out. And it's on a corner, so they have a pretty big porch set up, covered porch set up, and they utilize that. In between the posts and the porch, they put like a 2x12 in between the two poles that support the porch up, like kind of you got out there. And there'd be a 2x12 in between those poles, and then two 2x8s on either side of them. That's your bar table. That's your pub tables.
Oh, cool.
In between every post, and then you'd have some benches behind there, a random picnic table in places. So they're utilizing their space. Like, it was a very neat design, because they don't want the beer to come from anywhere but from Oyster City, Apalachicola.
Huh.
So they make all the beer there.
Oh, so that's the name of the...
That's the name of the place. It's Oyster City. Is Oyster City Brewing Company. So, and they call Apalachicola the Oyster City. Oh. So that's where the name comes from, because of their oyster farms.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I walked in there, and I had this beer. Let's go ahead and smell it. So I can't remember if I mentioned this before the camera cut out, but I looked up kind of a basic home brewer's recipe to make an oyster stout. I couldn't talk to the brewmaster. He was just too busy. I wanted to pick his brain, but he was just too busy, and I understand. But so pretty much you just make your run-of-the-mill stout. There's maybe a lot of chocolate malt in there, which I can smell. A lot of chocolate malt. Pretty much you make your run-of-the-mill stout, and you just throw a bunch of clean, whole oysters in it. And I don't know what that does to it, why they would do that, but it doesn't smell fishy or anything.
No, that's why I was trying to see if I could smell anything fishy.
Let's go ahead and taste it. Just as good as when they pour it out of the tap.
That's really good.
It does have a lot more of a bitter taste than like a normal stout would. I wonder if that's what the oysters do. Do you get that?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. What do you think?
That is really good. It's like, for me, it's the right amount of, it's not too heavy, but it's also, because I've had some stouts that are
real thick.
That are real thick, but I've also had some that aren't thick enough either.
Yeah.
This is like right in between.
Yeah. And I might also, our taste buds might be thrown off from having that nice, refreshing IPA. Maybe we should have had the stout first, but I think I went back. I went back to this little brewery, to this town even, just to walk the town because they had like cool little shops that you can shop in. And I went back and I would just explore a little bit. They had junk shops and your not like your souvenir shops, but like your classy souvenir shops where everything's like handmade. It's not like a T-shirt that says Apalachicola, Florida.
Not
It's
your
a
typical gift place.
it's a oyster shell that has been carved into that says Apalachicola. It's the driftwood, things like that. That's been hand artisaned.
So I was gonna say, is that done by locals then?
Well, yeah, it's all done by locals, and the locals fill up these shops
Huh.
for the tourists.
So it's almost like sounds like kind of like Old Town St. Charles.
Very
further.
similar. Very similar.
type
Yeah, less brick, more white wood.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just a really cool town. I really enjoyed it. All the beer there is good. They had a hibiscus pale ale. I forget the whole name of it. It came in a purple can. Actually, Mason and Kevin, my sister and brother-in-law, bought some
That sounds
for
awesome.
after Mesa gives birth. She wanted to try it, and they had a single can of it for sale at the brewery, so I bought a can and I drank it. It was good. It wasn't the vibe I was looking for, but it was very, very lavender hibiscus, much like a tea. Really good.
That sounds fantastic.
And then they had an Oktoberfest style ale. They had some blondes, some lagers. Everything was good. You know me. When I go out of town. That's what I look for. I want to drink the local beer. I want to drink not the Schlafly. I mean, don't get me wrong. Schlafly is good,
but you can get that anywhere.
You can get that in most places. I don't want the craft beers. I want the local beers. That's what I want. And I've been to a lot of them. I mean, you've seen my cooler. I got stickers from probably 25, 30 different places from every different state that I could possibly
covered in
think
stickers
of.
already.
And I have my top two. I got Miners Brewing Company in the Black Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have, I'm blanking out on what it is. Good Liquid from Bradenton, Florida.
Oh, okay.
I really like that place. But this one, by far, it's not as good as Miners. And the beers are so much different than Good Liquid that I can't fairly put one in front of the other. So they take second and third place, and they're the same level, second and third.
Do you think the beer is genuinely not as good as Miners, or do you think it's kind of like a biased take?
It's
or a little of both.
A little of both, and because there are certain beers there at Miners that you just can't get anywhere else.
Those couple you brought back,
that
I tried were pretty awesome.
That choke cherry brown ale for Miners in Hill City, South Dakota. That choke cherry is a local berry from that area, and you can't really find it anywhere. You can get it in some northern states. I think Minnesota, you can probably get them in Minnesota. But that's the first time I've ever seen it utilized in that way, and that is a staple. Anytime I'm there, I will drive out of my way to go pick up some, and I will buy an obnoxious amount of it.
Is that the one that's like an hour out of the way or something?
Yeah, it's pretty far out of the way. But yeah, it is a little bit of a biased opinion, but yes, they do have good beer. Every beer I ordered, and I ordered all of them. They had sours, and I'm not a sour guy. They had gozes. I'm not a gose guy.
Is that the flight that you sent pictures of?
Yeah. I actually got quite a few different flights.
We'll crop that in.
Yeah, so I only took a picture of one of the flights, and I'll list. I remember which beers they were. I'll list the beers on there, but I only took a picture of the one, and every single beer I thoroughly enjoyed, and that rarely happens.
I was going to say, that's pretty impressive.
That rarely happens, and I'm not a sour guy. I'm not a gose guy. I enjoyed every single one of them. They were fantastic. And then, let's get off the beer. So my trip, we went and did so right next door to that Oyster City, actually Don Clark, Brianna's father, told me about this place. They love going to Apalachicola. He said, go to a restaurant called Hole in the Wall. So you will not regret it. If I think I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. I want to say her name's Brenda. If Brenda's in there, you'll have ball. And I said, okay. And so we went in there, and we walk in, and here comes this old Southern lady. You can just tell has worked every single hour of her life. and it was not easy work, and she just looks at me and she goes, "What?"
What?
And I'm like, we'd like to sit down and eat. And she's like, "Well, sit down then." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so I'm telling this story to Ashley and Josh, and they're like, "Well, did you go to like to one of those those restaurants where they're on purpose rude to you,
That's what I was
like
just thinking.
Dick's, whatever it's called?" I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
this is just how it was. Like it's
So like she, not the restaurant, but she wasn't playing like
no,
the game.
no,
That's just how she is.
no. That's how she is. But so she's rude, but as genuine could be. I sit down, and we all sit down, and she's like, "What are you having?" I said, "Oh, you got draft beer?" And she's like, "Do you see any taps over there at the bar?" I'm like, "Obviously not." And she's like, "Obviously not." And I said, "Well, I'll have a Yinling bottle." And she goes, "One Yinling." And she's yelling back to the bar as she's taking my order. She's like, "One Yinling!" And so we order all our drinks. She brings out our beer, and it's this long pub table, and she's sliding beers down. And then we get to the food, and I order a dozen oysters. Dockside is what they call them. They're like Rockefeller. If you ever had Rockefeller oysters, it's Parmesan, butter, and spinach.
Oh, okay.
Dockside is Parmesan and butter, no spinach.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't like the spinach, you can get that. And those were really good. And then I think I got blackened grouper basket. Dude, when I tell you that that's some of the best food I've ever had in Florida, and I've had a lot of food in Florida, that's some of the best food that I've ever had in Florida.
Really?
Phenomenal. And I could not figure it out because literally you walk in, it's the room maybe a little bit bigger than this room. There's a bar, 2 pub tables, and a round table. And then that's it.
Huh.
And I'm trying to figure out, I was like, how? And the prices were fantastic.
Really?
I think a whole dozen of oysters, of those oysters, was $10.
What?
It was so cheap.
That's cheaper than that place we went to in Bluff.
Yeah, it's so cheap. It's so cheap.
Do you think that's because of the supply?
I think I figured it out. So like even the grouper was cheap. The grouper basket was like $12 or $13. It's cheap, and you got 3 fillets of it, 3 little strips of it, which was plenty of food. Even if you're just eating a basket, and then a basket of fries. And I think I figured it out. It's because this place is literally a hole in the wall. Like it's not dirty or unclean by any means, but it's just the building hasn't been changed since it's been built. Maybe it's been painted a few times. It's her daughter, her husband, and I think her brother that works there. So you think about this. They probably have 0 overhead.
Yeah.
They can buy the good food and sell it for decent prices and bring customers back. Jake, There was people walking in to this restaurant, and this lady was almost in tears and would go give hugs because she hadn't seen them in years. And they came back, and she remembered every one of them. And she's like, they haven't been down here for 2 years.
You mean your waitress was?
Yeah, the one that was barky at me. She's the owner. Huh. She just would come up to me. I went there twice. And she came up to me the second time, and she's like, "Now, are you going to come back and see me tomorrow?" I said, "No, we're going home tomorrow." I was like, "Well, when you get back, don't forget about me. Come see me. Come leave St. Louis and come see me." And I'm like, "I will."
That's cool.
And so
did you tell her about the podcast?
I didn't. I don't think she podcasts.
I wanted to say hi to Brenda.
I don't think she podcasts. But dude, some of the best food I had there. There's one place in Gratington Beach called the Red Bar. If anyone, a lot of people know what I'm talking about when I say the Red Bar. That besides that place, you don't know what I'm talking about. Besides that place, this food was phenomenal. I love this lady to death. She took care of us. It was genuine Southern hospitality at a price, and it was so cool. And there was actually a hot sauce that we were kind of looking through the hot sauce, putting hot sauce on our oysters. And she looks at me and she's like, "Hang on a second, I'll get you something." She brought a bottle. It was an old bottle. The label was peeling off like it's been near a sink for too long. And she's like, "You just try it." Dude, best hot sauce I've ever had in my life. I have no idea what it's called because I can't read the freaking label.
The secret sauce.
But she just gave me the bottle. She said, you take that back to St. Louis with you. And I was like, heck yeah, I'll take this.
You got it at home?
Yeah, I got it at home.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we're going to try it. But yeah, all in all, a good experience. I did a little fishing. I'm not a fisherman. We went out with a guy named Rudy Gay was his name. Rudy Gay was a charterman. He's been a fishing boat captain since he was 16 years old. At 16 he chartered.
I was gonna say there was a basketball player that used to be named Rudy Gay.
Are you serious? He chartered his first charter as a captain from Apalachicola to Key West, Florida, on a 90-foot boat, and he was 16 years old when he did it.
Holy crap!
He's local, growing up there all his life. He took us out. We went redfish fishing. We did some, I forget what kind of trout it was, but we did some trout fishing. I'm not a fisherman. You know me, I'm a hunter. I don't have the patience for fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Had an absolute ball.
The picture looked awesome.
The guy looks like Jeff Burton from the Riz Show. Looks just like him when Jeff had a beard before he got cancer. Kind
of looks like a hillbilly.
It has that great big salt and pepper beard. But you turn your back to him and he starts talking, and you think Larry the Cable Guy is standing behind you. I kid you not, the guy would have the voice down pat. I mean, I thought I was in the middle of a stand-up show, and I turned around and like, oh, it's just this guy.
That was his voice.
That was his voice. That's what he sounded like. He sounded just like him.
That's
awesome. If he recorded a track from a Larry the Cable Guy album and said it word for word the same speed, and you played both of them side by side, you wouldn't be able to tell. There's no way.
Where's Larry the Cable Guy from?
He's not from anywhere down there. That's just part of his act. That's how he talks for his act. I think he's from Oklahoma originally.
The way he talks is his act?
Yeah,
that's not actually how he talks?
I don't think that's actually how he talks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's all a comeuppance or whatever you want to call it.
That's a letdown.
That's the wrong word to use, but that's okay.
You know what we're talking about.
You know what we're talking about. So I did a little fishing, found some good bourbon, and we were able to build a fire on the beach, which I've never done before.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about he sent a picture of that, and it was just his feet, and he like dug a hole. What'd you have, like 2 or 3 logs in there?
Yeah, it was a normal campfire. And so all you had to do was dig a hole.
Looks so awesome.
And you put your logs in, you start your fire. And where we were, there was no major town where we were. This town was all residential, except for a little kind of. It was a grocery store. They had like hamburger and bratwurst and hot dogs and cold cuts and things like that. But it wasn't like I'd say it was a very simplified Walgreens is what it was.
I'm surprised you could do it there.
Yeah, the guy said it's totally legal, and so they have that place. They have a little restaurant and a little one pump gas station on this key.
So that's why you could do it.
Yeah,
it was a small town.
It's a small town, and then he said the county lets you do it. The county doesn't care. So think about this: no major city. It's all residential. Those are the 3 main business. No light pollution. So we're on the beach with the waves in front of us at night with the fire going, and you look up and you can see the cloud of the Milky Way come across the sky.
Could you really?
Like we seen at the cabin. It wasn't as pronounced as at the cabin, but you could see it there.
So the moon wasn't too bright?
No.
I was going to say, every time I went to Florida at night, the moon was like bright.
We're late into the fall, or early into the fall now, so there's really
true.
no moon, especially down there.
That's true. I think I've always.
There was a couple nights where the moon came out, but not the nights we did the fires. But so yeah, then we did that, and then Allie and I and Declan took off Friday morning, and with the point of making it all the way to Memphis and staying the night in Memphis, and then we got up and we did we walked around for a few hours. I've never been. I was able to go to Sun Studios, which was awesome. I didn't get to do the tour, just walking in the front lobby and seeing all this stuff. That's where Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash were discovered.
That's right.
I bought a Johnny Cash Sun record. I'll show you at home. A little 45. It says Sun on it. It's got Get Rhythm on it, and I Walk the Line. And I was able to take a picture in front of it.
Is it the little label? The color is it like yellow and orange?
Yeah. And it says
I think
Sun.
I have one.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You don't have one.
And I think it's a boy named Sue. It's a 45.
What?
Yeah. I like, as you were saying that, I was like, why does that sound so familiar?
You have a Sun record with a boy named Sue.
I think I do. Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to show me, and we're going to have to post it on the socials, because if you do, that's freaking awesome. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, if I have it, we'll insert it now.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
So we went to Sun Studios, and then I got to walk Beale Street at like 10 in the morning.
Oh, that's cool.
It was dead. It was so dead. We went into there was an old soda shop in there. I got an old-fashioned root beer. And it was where you add the syrup, and it was just the soda water. You just right into
cool.
it. Really cool. Kind of an old, like a legit soda beer. Then I had a cup of coffee and a rye whiskey. I forget what the rye whiskey was called. I got it saved on my phone, but it's a coffee-infused rye whiskey, and I had it with my coffee.
That sounds good.
It was very, very good. It's very tasty.
I haven't been to Beale Street in a long time. Do they have a trolley on Beale Street? Or no?
It's not on Beale.
It runs close by, right?
It runs right through Beale.
Oh, okay.
So it crosses over Beale. It doesn't go up and down Beale.
Okay.
But they had a tap room in there for a local brewery. It was closed. I didn't get to go. I really wanted to go and check it out, but I didn't get to. What we did get to do was go to Old Dominick Distilling. We did a tour of them. That was really cool. I mean, it kind of a not unimpressive facility. It wasn't by any means. I just thought it would be bigger and more. They have to have an off-site facility to make their whiskey.
So that one's kind of more maybe of a commercial type.
Yeah, it's kind of their headquarters. You know, they probably do make something there, but it's probably more designed for the people, for the public. Really cool. They make a gin there, and I'm not a gin guy. And it had lavender and juniper in it, so it was more lavender taste to it than anything. They sell it here. You can buy it here. Yeah, it was really good. I didn't buy a bottle of it. It's just called Old Dominick's Gin. Then they made a vodka. The vodka was really good. They make a honey melon, I think is what they call it. A honey melon. It's a Florida fruit. They make a vodka infused with that.
Is that similar to like a honeydew, you think?
No,
or is it?
It's more of a citrus than a melon.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But I think they called it honey melon. I can't remember 100%. But then they make their wheated whiskey. They made a bourbon.
Did you try that?
Yeah, I really have to taste it all. And you've seen the bourbon here before. It's that square bottle with a red label on the front of it. You've seen it. I'm
Does
sure.
it say Old Dominick?
No, it says Holding Station on it. You've seen it before. I know you have. We actually a month ago when we went to Florida, my buddy Steve Wander bought a bottle of it, and we drank it on the beach down there.
Oh, that's
it was
cool.
very, very tasty. And then they have something there that I'm going to pull out in here in a minute. I want you to try it. So the history of this specific bottle is Old Dominick was an actual person. He was an Italian immigrant in the 1860s, I believe, and he started out with a produce stand. He started out as a grocer. He would grow. I don't know if he would grow produce, but he sold it. And he had a building in Memphis called Holding Station. That's where the bourbon gets its name from. They don't own that building anymore, but that's where he started his grocery business out of. Well, he got into the idea of producing tonics because alcohol was used in medical, cures a lot. So he could make a lot of money by doing that. So I don't know if I can't remember if he made his own spirits, but he made this tonic called Old Dominick's something toddy. The new bottle is called Memphis Toddy. I don't think it was Memphis Toddy back then. So he made that, and he would sell that to bars and to doctors, and it was good to drink on its own, but it was very tasty. But it was used to help cure the common cold and help cure flu. So he distributed that, became extremely wealthy off of it.
Next time I have a cold at work and I pull out a flask, I don't want to hear any crap. Not from you. I guess more so from your dad.
You mean more than I pull out my flask at work? Just kidding. JK, gosh dang. So he made a fortune off of it. Well, what happened in 1919? Prohibition started. 3 days after Prohibition, the poor guy died.
Wow, that sucks. Gotta have a booze.
Yeah, he died literally 3 days after Prohibition started. Never got to see the end. Never got to see what would happen if when it ended, if he could produce his tonic again.
Do they know why? Like, was he old or?
I think it was just of natural causes. The guy said, "Don't worry." He was extremely happy. He had a big family, very wealthy. You know, he lived a good life. Well, fast forward quite a bit of time ahead, 2013. I can't remember if it was his grandkids or his great-grandkids found a bottle unopened of that tonic that he made, that old Dominick's Toddy.
That's cool.
And they opened it. They said it wasn't very good to drink. I mean, it was 40% alcohol. You could drink it, but it didn't taste very good. So they took a sample of it and sent it off to a lab to try and get a basic recipe. Well, they got the recipe.
Do you think it didn't taste good because of the age, or
because of the
probably
age?
Just wasn't that good?
Because of the age.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was 100 and something years old at the time.
That's cool.
Probably more than that. That's probably before 1919. So 2013, probably 1900, maybe late 1800s is when this bottle survived from.
That's awesome.
Oh,
but then they got the recipe.
They got the basic recipe, and that's what this bottle is. Where did I put it?
It's under your chair.
Oh, right here. This is old, and I've already opened it. Don't judge me. I've already drank some. This is old Dominick's Memphis Toddy.
That's what they found.
This is what they found.
That's the 100-year-old one.
This is the closest thing that you can get to what that original toddy was. And so I thought to close out the show, we do a little pour of it.
You want a shot glass, or you want those fancy glasses up there? The nightcap glasses is what I call them.
Ooh, yeah. Go ahead and grab those. That's how good. I'll clear off the table here.
You want the short one or a tall one?
You surprise me.
Tall ones look a little fancier. And you can probably get a little more in it.
All right.
You can choose which one you want.
I'll take the bigger glass.
I'm excited.
So, before we take a drink, I just want you to smell it. And I'll tell you kind of the basic recipe from what I can remember. So what's in this is 3 types of citrus and a handful of spices. The ones I can remember for sure, the citrus is orange, grapefruit, and lemon. And then the spices are cinnamon, clove, black pepper, and there's one more that I don't really remember. I've never heard of it before. It starts with a C. It starts with like a CA. I can't remember what it was, but that's all that's in it. And then their bourbon, their Holding Station bourbon, the red bottle.
This smells like a Manhattan.
It very much mimics a bitters, like a lot of bitters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So anyway, I think that kind of ends my story. So we ended up finishing the tour, did some tastings, bought some souvenirs. I spent way too much money on beer and bourbon paraphernalia, merchandise. That doesn't sound any better.
Well, we're cutting that out.
Sorry, Gabe. And then we made it home safe, and here we are. So before we close out the show, Beer Bros Eastside on Twitter, or Beer Bros East on Twitter, Beer Bros Eastside on Instagram. Email us, beerbroseastside@gmail.com. Episode 2 is coming. It's coming. Be patient. I think hopefully this will be released before 2. If not, you've already listened to it, and where what I just said doesn't really even matter.
Yeah. If not, go back, listen to this one again before episode 2, and then listen to episode 2 again.
It has nothing to do with the fact that we want double views on this video at all. It's absolutely not.
And if it doesn't work that way, then make a new account and listen to them both again.
Yeah, there you go. What?
Just do it.
Okay. All right. Well, that being said, stay classy, San Diego.
Be neat and stay thirsty. Oh, that's good.
That's really good, isn't it?